Hey man, how's your morning going?
Pretty good. Coffee helped. You?
Same here. I almost overslept though.
You again? That's like the third time this week.
I know, man. My alarm and I have trust issues.
Ha! Yeah, I get that. Sometimes I swear my bed holds me hostage.
It really does. So what's your plan for today after we finish recording?
Nothing special. Gym later, maybe edit some clips. You?
I might go for a walk, clear my head a bit. Been thinking a lot lately.
About what?
Just life, you know. How fast things change.
Yeah, I get that feeling. You wake up and suddenly months are gone.
Exactly, like you blink and another year passes.
That's kind of why I love doing this podcast, you know? Talking about real stuff, the kind of conversations most people avoid.
Same. It feels like therapy sometimes.
Totally. So tell me, what's been on your mind lately?
Well, man, it's weird. I've been thinking about how much time we waste worrying. Like every little thing, work, money, people's opinions, and in the end, none of that matters as much as we think. I realized I've been chasing perfection instead of progress. Every time I mess up, I used to feel like it's the end of the world. But now I see it's part of growing. I've started to appreciate my small steps. I remember when we started this podcast. I wanted everything to sound perfect. The mics, the background, even the way we spoke. I was obsessed with how people might judge us. But honestly, the best moments came when we stopped trying so hard and just talked. When we laughed, made mistakes, said dumb things, that's when people connected the most. Maybe life is like that too. We spend so much time trying to look perfect that we forget to live. These days, I try to focus on doing my best and letting go of control. Like this morning, when I spilled my coffee right before recording. Old me would have been mad all day. Now, I just cleaned it up and laughed. Because that's life. Messy, funny, unpredictable.
That's actually deep, man. And I totally feel that. You know, I used to think success was about big moments, like getting promoted, buying stuff, being recognized. But lately I realized the real success is waking up and still wanting to try again. It's not about having everything, it's about not giving up. A few months ago, I hit a low point. I was tired, burnt out, didn't feel inspired at all. I'd record episodes, but my heart wasn't in it. I started comparing myself to other creators, people getting millions of views. I thought, maybe I'm not good enough. Then one night I was rewatching our first episode and I heard us laughing about something stupid. I think it was about your dog barking during the intro. And it hit me. That laugh was real. That energy was real. That's what people feel. So I stopped chasing numbers and started chasing meaning. I began talking more honestly on the podcast, even about my fears. And suddenly people started messaging us, saying how much they related. That's when I understood something. People don't want perfection. They want connection.
Yeah, man, connection, that's the real deal. When we share what we go through, we help others see they're not alone.
Exactly. And it's funny because when we started, I didn't even know what we were doing. We just wanted to talk. But now it feels like we've built a little family with our listeners.
Yeah, and that's beautiful. You know, lately I've been trying to live slower. To actually enjoy mornings instead of rushing through them. I used to wake up, grab my phone, check messages, check analytics. Everything was noise. Now I make my coffee and just sit there in silence for 5 minutes. Those 5 minutes are gold, man. That peace is everything.
That sounds peaceful. I should try that.
You should. It's like resetting your brain before the chaos begins. And it reminds you that no matter what happens, you can always start again.
You know what? That reminds me of something that happened to me last week. So I was jogging early in the morning, trying to get back in shape. Halfway through, I got tired and thought about stopping. Then I saw this old man, maybe 75, running slowly but consistently. He smiled at me as he passed, and I swear that hit me. Like, he didn't care how fast he was and he just kept going. And I thought, that's it. That's life. It's not about the speed, it's about the direction.
That's powerful, man. That's exactly it. We always think we're late. Late to succeed, late to be fit, late to be happy. But maybe there's no late at all. Maybe we're just on our own time.
Yeah, our own race, our own pace.
You ever notice how when we talk like this, everything feels lighter? Like we don't solve anything, but somehow things make sense.
Totally. It's like when you open a window after a storm. The air feels different.
That's what this podcast is for me. An open window. A place to breathe.
And I think that's why people listen. Because everyone needs that window sometimes.
True. And you know what's funny? When I was younger, I used to think adulthood meant having everything figured out. Now I know it just means learning to live without knowing everything.
That's wisdom right there.
Nah, that's just tiredness talking. I just need some rest, that's all.
Ha! You sound like my dad.
Ha. Maybe I'm becoming him. You know, thinking about it now, I realize how much we carry from the people we grew up with, whether we notice it or not. Small habits, the way we talk to ourselves, even the way we react when something goes wrong. It often comes from what we saw and learned as kids. I remember my father used to sit quietly at the kitchen table after work, not saying much, just staring at his coffee. I thought he was tired or frustrated, but later I understood he was thinking. He was processing the day in silence, and somehow, without him ever telling me, I absorbed that. I learned that reflection, even in quiet moments, can shape your whole approach to life. And that brings me to a bigger point, about patience. I used to hate waiting. Even small delays would make me anxious. Traffic lights, lines at the store, waiting for an email. I felt like life was wasting my time. But now I see waiting differently. Waiting is not wasted, it is preparation. When you wait, your mind processes, your perspective shifts, and sometimes the thing you were rushing for suddenly doesn't matter as much. For instance, last week I had to wait for hours at a cafe because they messed up my order. Instead of getting angry, I pulled out my notebook and started jotting down thoughts for this podcast. By the time my coffee arrived, I had written 2 pages of ideas that might not have existed if I had not waited. Life gives you these quiet opportunities when you slow down. Also, I want to talk about mistakes, not just as failures but as mirrors. I've made so many mistakes, some obvious, some invisible at first glance, but they all reflect something about me. My fears, my assumptions, my patterns. I used to hide from mistakes, pretending they were accidents or blaming circumstances, but now I try to face them head on. When I fail at something, I dissect it, not to punish myself, but to understand. What caused it? Was it fear, laziness, overconfidence, miscommunication? And then I ask, how can this teach me to live better? One small realization from a mistake can prevent 100 future problems. Mistakes are painful, yes, but they are also the clearest teachers. And speaking of teaching, I've noticed something profound about the people around us. How much our influence matters, even when we don't see it. A simple act of kindness, a word of encouragement, a story shared, all ripple further than we realize. I remember last month, I gave a friend some advice on handling stress, just casually, and months later he told me it changed how he dealt with his anxiety. He didn't even know I was teaching at that moment, but my experience, my reflection, my vulnerability helped him. That moment reminded me that living openly, honestly, and with awareness is not selfish. It spreads quietly. It creates impact without flashy gestures. Now, I've also been thinking a lot about daily routines. People underestimate how much power the small, seemingly trivial choices have over life. Drinking water, taking a short walk, writing a single sentence in a journal, tidying a room. These are all invisible scaffolding for a meaningful existence. A day filled with small conscious actions is stronger than a week of frantic attempts at big achievements. It's not glamorous, but consistency compounds. Years from now, these small actions create identity. The person who drinks water every morning and reflects for 10 minutes becomes someone resilient, disciplined, thoughtful. The person who neglects these tiny habits becomes chaotic, stressed, and reactive, no matter how much talent they have. And I want to talk about fear. Fear is subtle. It hides under rational reasons, under deadlines, under other people's expectations. Fear convinces you that you are not ready, that your ideas are too small, that someone else will do it better. I've had fear whisper to me during every project I've started. Sometimes it was quiet, just a pause in my heartbeat, a hesitation in my voice. Other times it screamed, telling me to quit, to not bother, to stay invisible. But here's what I've learned. Fear is not your enemy. Fear is a signal. Fear shows you where growth is possible. The area where fear is loud is often where you need to step. The first step is acknowledging it, not suppressing it, and then acting anyway. You act imperfectly, you act clumsily, but you act. And action silences fear faster than reasoning ever can. One last reflection for now. I've realized that joy is not only found in the extraordinary. It is in the mundane, in the small exchanges with people, in noticing the sky, in laughing at yourself when you spill coffee, in finishing a short walk despite being tired. Life is not a series of grand achievements. It is a mosaic of small, meaningful moments. And if you pay attention, if you are present, these moments accumulate layer upon layer into a life that feels rich, not because of wealth or recognition, but because of awareness, presence, and connection.
Man, Ethan, listening to you just now reminds me why these conversations are so important. I've been thinking a lot about my own routines, my mistakes, and the fear that follows me around like a shadow. There was a time not long ago when I felt completely stuck. I had ideas, dreams, goals, but every attempt felt like hitting a wall. I'd start something, and the moment things got hard, I'd shut down. I thought I lacked talent, but later, I realized it wasn't talent. It was strategy. I wasn't learning how to process failure, how to manage energy, how to break big challenges into manageable steps. When I finally understood that, I started experimenting with small, deliberate actions. I picked one idea, just one, and worked on it every day for a month. No pressure to succeed, no deadlines, just incremental progress. And by the end of the month, I had something tangible, something that reflected my effort. That small victory changed everything. And mistakes. Oh man, I could write a book about my mistakes. Some of them are funny, some embarrassing, some still haunt me. But what I've noticed is that mistakes are always pointing to something deeper. They reveal our weaknesses, yes, but also our blind spots. I once spent weeks preparing a presentation for a client, convinced it would impress them, only to realize halfway through that I had misunderstood their needs entirely. I wanted to crawl under my desk. I was frustrated, embarrassed, and ready to quit. But instead of walking away, I listened to their feedback. I adapted my approach. I learned more about communication and preparation than I ever would have without that mistake. And now, whenever I approach something new, I treat mistakes as part of the learning curve, not the failure. I expect them, I analyze them, and I grow from them. Another thing I've learned is the power of observation. Life gives us lessons constantly, often through subtle moments. Like last week, I was walking down the street and noticed a group of kids playing soccer. One of them fell, scraped his knee, but didn't cry. He got up, brushed himself off, and went back into the game. Something about that moment stuck with me. Resilience isn't about never falling. It's about getting up, even when you don't feel ready, even when it's uncomfortable. I think as adults, we forget how simple and powerful that lesson is. We complicate life with endless analysis and fear of judgment, but sometimes the answer is just to keep moving forward. And routines, yes, I need to stress routines, because they're the backbone of everything we do. You said it, Ethan. Small actions accumulate into identity. For me, it started with tiny rituals. Making my bed, walking for 10 minutes after lunch, writing a paragraph each morning. Each of these actions seemed trivial at first, but over months they shaped me. They created a rhythm, a structure that allowed creativity and focus to grow. When my mind is scattered, these habits anchor me. They remind me that I have agency, even when circumstances feel chaotic. I also want to speak about connection, because it ties everything together. We often measure success externally, followers, money, recognition, but the real impact is the connections we make, the lives we touch. I've had listeners reach out, telling me how one episode changed how they handled a difficult situation, how one story encouraged them to take a small step forward. That's the currency I trust. Numbers fade, but genuine human connection leaves a mark. And the beauty of it is that it doesn't require perfection. We don't have to have it all figured out. We just have to be real, present, and willing to share. Finally, I want to reflect on patience. We are living in a culture that idolizes speed, instant results, and overnight success. But most meaningful achievements are slow. They are the product of repeated effort, quiet discipline, and resilience through setbacks. Building a life, mastering a craft, creating relationships, these things require endurance. They require showing up day after day, even when motivation is low, even when progress feels invisible. And here's the paradox. The longer you stay committed, the less pressure you feel, because you start to enjoy the process itself. You start to see growth, not just as a result, but as a companion on the journey.
You know, Jake, after thinking about all this, I realize that the little moments are what make life feel full. Not the big achievements, not the awards, not the recognition, but the small gestures, the laughter with friends, the quiet mornings, the simple routines that give us peace and make us feel alive.
Exactly, Ethan. I feel the same way. It's like those moments are invisible to most people, but they shape who we are. I've started to notice them more. A kind word, a smile from a stranger, finishing a task I thought was impossible. Those things build confidence and gratitude even if no one else sees them.
And it's funny how we chase big goals and forget to enjoy the journey. I remember being so focused on finishing projects, making money, being recognized, that I missed the beauty in daily life. Now I try to pause, breathe, and notice small wins. Even a productive morning counts. Even a short walk can reset your mind.
Yeah. And the more I focus on those small victories, the more I feel motivated. They accumulate into something bigger without pressure. You don't need to force life to be extraordinary to feel fulfilled. Simple steps, repeated over time, create progress that feels natural, not forced. It's sustainable and real.
Sometimes I think people underestimate how much reflection matters. Sitting quietly for even 10 minutes, thinking about your day, your feelings, your goals, can make all the difference. It allows us to see patterns, to understand mistakes, and to notice progress we would otherwise ignore.
Totally. Reflection is like a mirror. It shows what we did well and what we can improve, without judgment. I've learned more from a thoughtful review of my day than from any random advice. And when you combine reflection with small, consistent actions, you start building a life that feels intentional.
And connection is another key. Talking to people, sharing your experiences, laughing together, even helping someone else quietly. These moments make life meaningful. Success isn't just about achieving things. It's about creating impact. And sometimes the impact is unseen, quiet, but real.
Absolutely. I've realized that even small connections ripple further than I imagine. A word, a gesture, a story can influence someone profoundly. We may never know it, but our presence matters. That makes every conversation, every interaction worth it. That's why I love doing this podcast.
Yeah, Jake. Podcasting itself is a reminder. We're learning, growing, and sharing at the same time. Mistakes happen, laughs happen, silences happen, and all of it becomes part of the journey. It's authentic, imperfect, and that's exactly what people relate to. Authenticity beats perfection every time.
Exactly, Ethan. Imperfection is beautiful because it's real. I hope our listeners understand that life isn't about being flawless. It's about showing up, being honest, and appreciating what we have. Even the struggles and failures contribute to growth. Without them, we wouldn't understand progress or resilience.
And as we wrap up, I want to say that I'm grateful for these conversations, Jake. They remind me of why I started this podcast, to explore life openly, to learn, to connect. It's more than content. It's a practice, a habit of reflection and growth that I hope continues to improve both our lives.
Same here, Ethan. Talking like this brings clarity. It reminds me that life is not about speed or comparison. It's about showing up, appreciating small victories, connecting with others, and being patient with ourselves. That's what I hope our listeners take away. The courage to keep moving even when it's hard.
And one last thought. Happiness is a choice we make daily, not in some distant future. We can choose to notice beauty, laugh, forgive, and take small steps toward our goals. Life may not be perfect, but it can still feel rich if we pay attention and stay present in each moment.
Absolutely. And patience is key. We can't rush life or expect everything to happen at once. The slow, steady work we do every day, habits, reflection, connection, builds a foundation that lasts. It's not glamorous, but it's powerful. And that's what creates resilience and joy.
So, to everyone listening, remember, take your time, notice the small wins, connect with others, and don't be afraid of mistakes. They are your teachers, not enemies. And even when life feels messy, there is always progress happening quietly, behind the scenes.
Yes, Ethan. Life is a series of small steps, small gestures, and small victories. If you keep moving forward, even slowly, you're growing, you're learning, and eventually you'll look back and realize how far you've come, not because of grand achievements, but because of consistent effort and presence.
And let's not forget gratitude. Being thankful for small things, your morning coffee, a good conversation, a kind gesture, can shift your perspective completely. Gratitude turns ordinary moments into meaningful ones. It helps us see abundance in our lives, even during difficult times.
Absolutely, Ethan. Gratitude is like a lens that changes how we experience life. When we focus on what we have, rather than what we lack, every day feels richer. It allows us to enjoy the journey, accept challenges, and find joy in simple moments. That's the essence of living fully.
So, as we close this episode, remember, slow down, reflect, act with intention, connect with others, embrace mistakes, and practice gratitude. Life is not a race, and there is no perfect finish line. It's about showing up and appreciating each step of the journey, no matter how small.
Exactly. And thank you all for joining us today. Keep growing, keep learning, and stay present. Remember, life is shaped by the choices we make daily, by the attention we give to small moments, and by the courage to keep moving forward. See you next week on Level Up Talks.